This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. War Eagle Auburn and E2C Network family, this is your editor's note at the beginning of this episode. This was actually recorded the night before all of the drama broke loose, from the firing of Coach Harsin to the appointment of interim head coach Cadillac Williams. All of this commentary is before all that. So keep that in mind as you're listening. You'll probably hear some things that feel a little out of place, but we wanted to salvage the episode because it's got some good content previewing the game ahead, but also talking about some of the other SEC matchups from the previous week. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. War Eagle.
War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson. I'm also here with Jared Davis. It is time to review the other dogs that we're facing this season, and it's Mississippi State. You know, dogs over there in Mississippi State land, Stark Vegas, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to come up with something for them.
I don't know much. I don't Starkville, but I don't know much about Starkville. So
it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, and their stadium's kind of interesting if you've ever been there. It's an open, stadium where one end is pretty much their big jumbotron, and then they have, it almost looks like a glorified high school stadium. Like, it's just bigger. And it's okay. Like, they're fine. But what's kind of interesting is, they have their bells, their clang-a-clang is out there going at it. And it's very deafening for anybody who comes in there. And I mean, every time I've come into, I think I've gone now to 2 or 3 games in Starkville, and every time it feels like you come out of a super loud concert because your ears are ringing. And I've come out, I think, most times with a headache. So I don't know how the fans do it, honestly. Like, the Mississippi State fans, you're ringing your own cowbell, and, it's right near your own ear. Like, I don't understand how they're not getting headaches, because I certainly did.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Haven't they gone back and forth over the years on if that's allowed or not? And I know it's allowed now, but I feel like they took it away, brought it back, took it away, and now it's been back for several years now.
Yeah.
Like artificial noise, not cowbell, but they've been essentially artificial noisemakers.
Yeah. And one of the rules recently, and I want you as fans to watch for this during the game, is they're not allowed, as soon as the center gets over the ball, then the bells have to stop. The cowbells have to stop. Every game I've watched and been a part of for Mississippi State, they've never done that. They keep ringing them.
Well, yeah,
almost until kickoff, or whatever, or the snap, or whatever it is. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well,
like, that seems illegal.
Yeah, what are they gonna do? I mean, like, they can't go pinpoint. I mean, I guess they could throw that person out. I don't know, but there's no
but
way
if it's like all the student section, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there's no
student section. They're not gonna do that.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, they probably never thought this through, but I mean, theoretically, somebody at another school could create some really high-pitched artificial device that what's to keep that device from being brought in? I don't know.
Right. Well, you put that in your cell phone and you just jack up the noise on that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let them do it, but it is what it is. That's not going to be the reason we lose. There will be many others. No. We have plenty of reasons why we're going to lose this game. That's not one of them.
I mean, but really, what's shocking is I was looking, because I was thinking, all right, we're going to Starkville. Mississippi State is now 5-3. Auburn is 3-5. What are we gonna do? Like, is there a chance? Like, to me,
No.
There's no chance.
Yeah, I'll settle this. No.
And yet, right now, there's ESPN and all their algorithms give us an 18% chance, and I'm like, how? Like, I guess they don't take into account that all the other stuff going on of the coach about to get fired and all that.
Well, do they give on the SAT? A rumor's always been they give you like a certain amount of points for getting your name right. Do they go ahead and throw do they give you a certain amount thinking the other team may not show up? Like, is that a built-in? Like, there's an 18% chance Mississippi State does not show up, maybe.
Yeah. Somebody, I don't know, poisons all of the players.
Yeah,
no,
they get. Yeah,
like,
they all get.
It's not going to be that, but
yeah.
like, that's not going to happen because it's at Starkville. I mean, like, again, I'm being facetious with that example, but, you know, it seems kind of ridiculous. I mean, the line right now for the game is like 10.5 points towards Mississippi State's favor. And I'm like, that's pretty interesting. I mean, Auburn's kind of shown, like, we cannot even beat the line. Like, we're not even trying, it seems like. And so for me, as an Auburn fan, just at this point in the season, I don't know. I just feel like we can't do anything well. And I hope the players can do well. Like, I want us to, but it's just like we're not at that spot.
You know, there were games where Tommy Tuberville would lose and you'd be surprised, and then he'd come back and win. You know, it was very rarely 2 in a row, and he'd win games he wasn't supposed to. And, you know, Gus was more consistent on beating the teams he should beat. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you always felt like, okay, we just lost this one, or we're on a 2-game slide. We're going to come back. I have zero faith in this game. Like, there's not anything that makes me think we're going to win this ball game.
Yeah, and it's a night game. So all those clangas are going to be even weirder and louder out there.
Like, and I'm during games, very negative. Before games, I am a really positive. I feel like Auburn is going to, except for Georgia lately, there's even times I'm like, I think we could beat Alabama. I think we could do it.
I mean, just look at last year. I mean, you had the chance, and you just couldn't close it out.
So for me to say zero chance, that's how bad it is, because I don't think there's any chance we win.
Yeah. I mean, even coming into this game, or into this season, I was already chalking this one up as a loss. And now that's just completely cemented in my mind. I mean, the only thing I think going for us is our defense, their struggle, and the worst part about it is their run defense. We can't stop the run. Guess what? Mississippi State doesn't run. And if they were smart, they would run the ball on most of the plays. But they're a pass-heavy team just by nature of their offense under Mike Leach. So I don't think it's going to happen. So maybe that gives us a little bit of a chance. But that's like a 1% chance in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm joking. We have a percent because we're showing up, you would assume. But you're right. I mean, and Will Rogers, I think, has had games where he's thrown multiple interceptions. You know, their thing appears to be they'll get down in the red zone and can't score. Mm-hmm. I think that was their problem against Bama a few weeks, and obviously that's Bama. But I feel like that's a very common, like, they can drive the field, but they have a trouble punching it in.
Yeah.
And I think
guess what Arkansas did? This last week, they were 100%. If they got in the red zone, they were scoring.
Yeah.
And
so when you can run, I mean, that's been the most disheartening this year is teams not even having to scheme to score in the red zone. They're just running it up the middle on us, and there's nothing we can do about it. Like, they're not even having to be tricky. They're just running it right at us. So I got used to the old Steel days where we would, you might get down in the red zone, but you weren't scoring. If you did, you were going to have to earn it.
Right.
That's not happening at all.
Yeah. I mean, early this season, I heard a couple people, coaches talking about, we're going to bend but don't break. And I was like, oh, no, you already have that mindset. Like,
good thing is we're not bending anymore. We're just like breaking on the outset. But
that's right. So, hey, we're showing all of our cards at this point. Like, I mean, if you can't figure out how to beat Auburn this year, I mean, Missouri. How did they beat us? I don't understand.
It was a sign when I said it then too. It's a sign when LSU had 5 yards passing in the second half and they win the ball game. Like, that should have been pretty telling of what was to come.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what's also kind of interesting now is Arkansas kind of showed that they can punch the ball in, and Mississippi State's struggling with that. Can Auburn, I think if we do have a chance, we need to stop Mississippi State in the red zone, keep them to field goals. And even then, like, to make it a game that we could potentially win, I think you got to keep it in the 20s. Like, if it gets into the 30s, I don't see Auburn having a chance.
Yeah.
And again, we keep saying it. We've said it before. It's got to be a dirty game. It can't be clean. I personally would love to kind of pull out some crazy plays. Because at this point in the season, like, how are you going to get players to get motivated? I feel like one of the ways you could potentially do that as a coaching staff for Auburn, pull out your trick plays. Because guess what? Players love trick plays, running the crazy play, like Schenker under center who flips it to Robbie. Like, who in their mind thought that was a good play? It thankfully worked, but that's kind of an interesting like wrinkle to it. Or like, early in the season where you had like TJ Finley in there, takes a snap, flips it out to Robbie, and then Robbie flips it out to Tank, and you're like, that was brilliant. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, I want to see some more of those innovative type plays, just to keep our offense kind of engaged. As soon as we lose engagement, I mean, there's no chance of coming back from that.
Agreed.
All right, so let's talk about our score predictions here. Preseason, I had us losing by 3 points. I'm definitely upping that to 14 points for now. You had actually predicted us to win. So
what an idiot. Who is this guy?
I mean, well, one of your reasons for that was you were talking about Schmedding shutting down Mississippi State's offense. So I mean, I like the idea because Schmedding was a linebacker coach for us, and we were thinking secondary was going to be strong, and I still think our secondary is pretty decent. So maybe that gives us a chance, but I don't know if that gets us a win.
I mean, you do make a good point. I mean, as far as matchups go, it's the best matchup for us on the schedule left. I mean, they don't really try to run the ball much, and that is our weakness. And secondary is, potentially the best or second best part of the defense. So, you never know what could happen on that front. But, I think 14 is probably good, safe spot to be at. I'll go with you on that and say we lose by 14.
Yeah. All right. So let's transition to maybe a more fun topic. Let's talk about other teams, because I think you and I are to the point where it's like, man, it's just the recurring cycle over and over for Auburn football, and it hurts. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about some other games. So Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. Ole Miss, number 15. They had just lost. They were in a close battle against Texas A&M, won the game 31-28. It was kind of interesting. One of the plays, J.J. Pegues was in there, and he runs a fake punt for a first down.
Yep.
I love that. I love a big man getting some running out there. There was another, I forget, it was a smaller school, did something very similar, and I was like, he even turtled the guy. So anyway, we saw J.J. Pegues when he was at Auburn hurdle people, and he's like 300-something pounds. So
Lane
that's fun to watch.
I've mentioned in the previous podcast that Lane would be my number one target, but he'll do some things that I'm like, oh, because that was on his own 25-yard line where he ran that fake punt. And J.J. Pegues only got it because he's super athletic and was able to essentially hover in air, because they went and reviewed it, and I don't know how his knee did not go down, but it did not.
He dude's a freak athlete.
Yeah, he got it by the nose of the football because he somehow kept his knee elevated.
Wow. Something else kind of interesting. At the end of the game, they were interviewing Lane Kiffin right after they won, and he was asked, I think, about Cole Kublik, and I was like, this is a brilliant question. What would you wear, or what are you going to wear for Halloween? And he responded, maybe I'm going to dress up as Jimbo, as a Joker. And I was like, oh, shots fired at Jimbo, and I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Lane likes to troll.
I mean, I'm glad he is so quick-witted too. Like, we got Mike Leach, who says some crazy stuff, but I feel like Lane Kiffin is on that same level where you're just like, wow, that actually came out of his mouth, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're fun guys to you gotta be fun to interview. You just don't know what you're gonna get, and they and these were legit calls, but that game shifted on a drive where there were like 3 pass interference calls and a face mask against A&M. Ole Miss was struggling for a while, and then they scored on that drive and then took the game over. But and they were legit calls. I'm surprised Ole Miss, Jackson Dart for them has become a runner. I mean, I guess that's something Lane just does, but, he turned that other guy last year into a runner too. So Jackson Dart, who does not appear to be a runner,
Yeah.
or runs the ball more than Robbie Ashford does. So that's just something interesting to keep an eye on if, things go a certain way. But, yeah, all in all, it was a good ball game. A&M still running their basic offense. But they do got some freshmen that were making some plays, so if they stay around, they'll probably be pretty good in a few.
Though I think I saw, wasn't it their punter or maybe a backup punter left, and I was like, "Are you kidding me for Texas A&M?" It's just like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, and they had I think a true freshman quarterback playing. He played pretty well.
Wow.
So, yep, they're playing a bunch of young guys, but Ole Miss, Ole Miss hung in there and got the win.
Yeah. Georgia versus Florida. I feel like that was. It seems like a good game, right? And this one seemed like a decent game for a minute. I texted some of my Georgia friends, and I was like, "Hey, how y'all feeling? Y'all getting worried?" Because at one point it was within a score of each other, and they were getting a little worried. Now Georgia did end up pulling it out 42-20. So I mean, you look at the end of the score, on the scoreboard at the end of the game, like it's fine. Like the Georgia is able to pull it out, no problems. But Florida is a trash team this year, so I mean that's just kind of where it's at. Something else, and I think I saw this somewhere. Did you realize that Joe Burrow and Stetson Bennett are the same age?
No, I didn't know that. That's pretty crazy.
Like, think about it. Joe Burrow, this is his third year in the NFL, and you have Stetson Bennett are both 25 years old, and Stetson's still in college.
That's pretty crazy.
Just kind of fun stat there.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't have thought Stetson would have been the one to get them over that 40-year hump with the national championship. But give them credit. They built a team up that doesn't solely rely on a quarterback. Most teams rely on quarterback. You got to have a good quarterback or you don't win.
Yeah.
And Stetson's a good quarterback, but a lot of teams need like a Joe Burrow or a Cam Newton or a Tim Tebow.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, really, Bama's relying on Bryce Young. I mean, they're not, and they're loaded with talent. But if they don't have him, they'd be in a world of hurt because
they would.
He's making things just kind of happen on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Another game that happened this last week, Missouri beats number 25 South Carolina 23-10. I was just hanging out with some friends that went to South Carolina, and they watched the game, and they made a note. I feel like South Carolina is in a similar spot as Auburn with, as far as underdog. We love being the underdog. When we're predicted to win, we get scared out of our minds. And so when Missouri, ends up beating you, you're just like, of course, this happens. But I mean, I think that's just the growth of South Carolina. They're going to have some losses like that. But hey, they're 5-3. Not the end of the world. They're still kind of they got a decent season going for them under Beamer. Another one, and this will kind of round us out here, Tennessee beating Kentucky. This was, I wasn't expecting this much of a one-sided nature of this game. Tennessee put up 44 points to Kentucky's 6. I mean, most of the game it was shut out too. So for Tennessee to do that gets me super excited about the matchup for Tennessee versus Georgia. It's next week, number 2 versus number 1. I mean,
that had all the makings of a trap game as well, and against a good team. And I will be surprised if Tennessee does not beat Georgia at this point.
Right. Yeah, and I'm looking at right now, Georgia is favored by 8 points, and I think that's
insane.
That's only because it's in Athens.
That's still insane. That doesn't matter.
Right.
Vegas to me is silly sometimes. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, Georgia may win the ball game, but if you're looking at Georgia and Tennessee and say, oh yeah, Georgia's obviously 8 points better, you can't say that.
No. I mean, if Georgia wins this game, it will be by 1, 2, or 3 points. Yeah, you can. If it will not be more than that.
So the thing about Georgia is, and he is amazing, but the few plays I watched, they're still heavily relying on Brock Bowers.
Mm-hmm.
And Tennessee will sling it around to anybody.
Right.
And they made Alabama's secondary look silly.
Mm-hmm. And that's Saban's defense. Yeah. And Saban doesn't fool around with secondary.
And Georgia's secondary is younger. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I at the end of the day, it's not like I'm a huge Tennessee fan, but it's just silly things. I'm like, no, they're not an 8-point favorite.
Yeah, I don't see that.
3's more. Give them the home field advantage. Give them the 3. Right. Okay, and then let's play ball. It doesn't matter, but it's just silly.
Yeah. Something else about the game. So this was it was in Knoxville, and they did some ceremony out in the middle of the field. The Tennessee basketball team came out. I don't know if you saw the video of it. But they had their SEC tournament trophy with them, and they went over intentionally. It looked like to the Kentucky fans, and we're like holding it up, waving at them, and I was like, oh man, I love trolling so much, especially this kind of way. Especially think about it, like what was it, preseason Kentucky, Calipari was not supportive of the football team and vice versa, and you're just like, what the heck is going on there? And just for Tennessee to essentially be like, haha, Kentucky, we're good at both basketball and football, haha.
Yeah, that was pretty funny stuff.
Yeah. All right, Jared, any other final thoughts before you get out of here?
Nope. Just no, I don't think I have anything else to add.
Cool. All righty. Well, how can people stay in touch with you?
They can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter, AJAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.